Okay guys, here we are now where we got our radiator replacement. We're going to be doing so now. I have already flushed out the radiator that we're going to be putting in it. This came out of an 89, so an 86, 87, 88, 89, 91, 92, I believe, are interchangeable for this 86 model. Be sure to double check that. Just look at your configurations of what you have with your diagrams that you Google online, match up port to port, make sure that the length, height is correct, and the amount of ports you have on each side do line up correctly. It's pretty easy to do, just use line of sight. I'll be flushing out that radiator again, but what you're going to do is, first things first, is you're going to have to remove this top plate. Now to do that, you're going to use your ratchet attachment, and you're going to be using a 1332 socket, and you're going to take out each screw. Make sure that you put them together so you will not lose them, as they are right there. The next thing you're going to have to do is remove this cross member on this side, and you're probably going to may have to do it on this side. This one isn't on right now, but the way I'm looking at it, I don't think you will. It should be just fine. So you're going to have to use, I believe it's going to be a 15 for this right here, and then you should be able to loosen it up over there and swing it out of the way. And I will also point this out, for an 86, the padding's still all right here. This car was not driven much at all. Next thing you're going to do is you remove your top radiator hose. I get rid of the GM clamps and I put on these universals, perfectly fine, and do the same thing at the bottom. Now I'm going to point out here on the radiator at the very bottom hose that you see is that there's going to be a little circular hole at the bottom to insert your screwdriver into to line up to undo that clamp if it's one of those universals. And it may even be like that on factory. If it is like that on factory, I would suggest you point it facing up and then going straight down through the bottom. It's a lot easier than being on your back and you won't get wet. So after you have done that, you're going to remove your plate. Now also I'll point out that your fan right here is going to be attached to this, so you'll have to take those out as well, and those are 1332 as well. I'm using zip ties just to temporarily get it out of the way because it's not all back together the way it should. Then you will have to use a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter top and bottom for lines there, and the bottom line is right above where the lower radiator hose is. It's easy to find. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey at all times. So if you're going to turn it clockwise, that's tightening up. Counterclockwise loosens it. On this side, you're going to have 2 ports, just like this right here, male, that insert to the female. And make sure I don't lose my tool there. You're going to be using a 13/16 wrench for that, and they will loosen right up. If you have any issues at all with them not wanting to budge, use some WD-40 or Walmart brand Super Tech to loosen those up. Both work great, and let it sit overnight. That's what I do, so it's a lot easier the next morning. Okay, so once that's off, this is off, you got everything connected, this radiator should pull out. So let us see. Let me put my camera down just for a second. Okay, now we have the old radiator out. This, my friend, this radiator's seen better days. It's bent, knocked in. It's just simply no good anymore. It's time for it to go. Presto, now you have your radiator out. And should I mention before you do any of this, even though it's not electrical, go ahead and take your battery out, which in this case, this battery's been out for a while because I have a lot to do on that. Okay, so this is what it will look like once the radiator is out. You can see all your ports, you see everything that you need to do, and then you put it all back together, you know, in reverse, which is pretty easy to do. I have a new radiator right here. I want to go ahead and put it in now. This is a very, very easy video. Of course, this is a very, very easy job. So let's just look at this radiator. If you're looking for a radiator for your car, okay, I want to save you all the trouble. Okay, so you're looking for a radiator that's going to fit your, say, 86 to 92, might even be a 93. I'm not for sure, but it would be a Seville that would be interchangeable on it with an Eldorado. Well, they may all be interchangeable. I know, you know, newer body styles and such like that, you get to a certain year, I think it's like 95, it changes, maybe a little bit more. But okay, so you want to match up your ports. There's your top radiator hose, one port, two port at the bottom. There's your drain plug at the very, very bottom. On this side where the cap is, you have one port, another port, and radiator hose for the lower. So that's exactly what you're needing. If you're replacing the part that I am, I'll line it up for you. You can put the video on pause, you can see what you need. And as I pointed out, this one came out of a 89, had been sitting for a while, I guess, and everything matches up. So you can see old with old and new with new. Now you know what part you need, what make and model will swap over to which, and now you know how to take it out. And putting it back in is just the reverse process. I'll go ahead and say, please make sure that you line up the rubber with your new radiator. You don't want to destroy that, because a new radiator I think is like $250. Mine was $20 out of the junkyard, which mine is actually a new radiator. If you can't tell looking at this older one that's been ridden hard and put up wet, you compare it to this one right here, you can see the obvious difference. This one here is almost completely right out of the box. It's just been sitting for a while and had a little damage for me taking it out of the car, but it'll work just fine, and I'm sure it will not leak. So guys, now you know what to do. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we're moving on to the body control module after this.